welcome to the O.W.P. This is our wrestling podcast. This is Dave along with Jess.
Hello, David.
And Craig. Bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling.
What a waste.
No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. And now on to our topic today, the legacy of Big Van Vader. Hit us up on Instagram at O.W.P 2019. Click on Linktree. You can find us on several platforms, including Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast. And anything we talk about is inspired by the WWE Network. So do yourself a favor and get your free month today to watch anything WWE, WCW, ECW, and more. Hey guys, is it Vader time?
I'm disappointed, Craig, because I didn't want to steal your gimmick of, always saying a quote from the theme that we're doing of the topic.
Yeah.
And you didn't say shit. You just, I was going to say Vader time, and because I expected you to do, and I didn't want to steal your thunder, and you didn't fucking say anything.
I heard you say Vader time.
I didn't want to be too hacky. That's why I did the V. That's why I did
very
the.
Disappointed.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Just
Leon.
fucking
Sorry.
disgusting.
Yeah. It's all right.
Vader! Okay. There it is. There it is. So, what's going on with Vader, man? Why are we doing this now?
I don't know why I chose Vader, to be honest. I knew we hadn't done it yet, so I was just like, fuck.
I guess maybe the question is why, yeah, but also I think there's nobody on this podcast that doesn't have a real just a love for Vader. Biggest big man probably in the game. There's not too many people that can match him and what he was able to do at that size. And
The OG Brock Lesnar.
The pure aggression in the ring. It's just it's so much fun. You would always watch a Vader match for the shock value. You're like, what is he going to do in there? And then sometimes it's just a slugfest, and that's even fun to watch. So,
And we've talked a lot about him in the last kind of 5 months. It's big chunks of episodes, even to the point where we texted, haven't we done this before? We've done a legacy of him, right? It's because we've spent a lot of time with him in a couple of big matches and moments. But it's
Vader's
good that we're bringing it all
history.
together.
Big part of our history for sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, since Jess and Cuz froze up, we'll just get started. Oh, it is working. All right then, baby. Okay. So Leon Allen White was born on May 14th, 1955 in Linwood, California. In his high school years, White was nationally ranked center who was recruited by over 40 colleges. He ended up attending the University of Colorado, played offensive line, where he was a second-team All-American for the Buffaloes in 1977. Perspective, I was born in 77. Jeez. He earned a business administration degree as well. In the 1978 NFL, he was actually drafted as a center by the Los Angeles Rams. During his first season, he helped them win an NFC championship. However, he was placed on the injured reserve list and had to retire due to a ruptured patella. So I got an idea. Ruptured patella. Let's go and try this wrestling thing out, right?
I know what a patella is because of Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah,
Just so everybody knows.
ruptured patella medindus.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
Which we'll talk about later. Vader ended up hurting his patella in a very famous moment. So stay tuned for that.
Will you stop, Vader? My patella.
Patella tendon. All right, let's jump into the AWA in 1985. While working out at a gym, Leon was spotted by someone who had recognized him from football. They suggested that he try pro wrestling. He was then put in touch with Brad. Is that Renegans? Did I say that right, Jess?
No, I think it's Reagan's. It's a weird way to say it.
Rengans, maybe?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure
Doesn't
wrestling
matter.
nerds out there. Are like,
It's Roman Renegan's dad.
Buddy,
It's Renegans.
That's not true.
That's not
That's
true.
absolutely
But
not
he actually started to train him and led him to the AWA. He started out with his ring name as Baby Bull. That's some trivia for you. I did not know that.
Renegans trained Lesnar and a bunch of others, by the way. So he's got a big pedigree of guys that he trained.
I did not know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He must go after the biggins. Likes the biggins.
The Benigans.
We all do.
He being Leon had improved in the ring and was booked against the AWA. Oh no, we're already getting into the Stan Hansen. So
Jess said something and he couldn't go without saying something to it.
but he being Leon improved in the ring. He was booked against the AWA heavyweight champion at the time as Stan Hansen. We're going to talk about Stan Hansen probably quite a bit throughout this because these guys had some legendary knockout, drag out fights.
The challenger a former professional football player with the Los Angeles Rams. The challenger! He's weighing in at 375 pounds. He is Leon, the Baby Bull White. Already in the ring, the heavyweight champion of the world is from Borger, Texas. Weighing in at 303 pounds, Stan the Lariat Hansen.
Also during this time, he was allowed to compete in Europe for the Catch Wrestling Association, where he wrestled as Power Bull. These are fantastic names, by the way. When the CWA
like variation, like, oh, he's Baby Bull over there. Oh, fuck, you can't be that here. Powerball. Get out there.
And then he was a mastodon, you know?
See, and little known, Red Bull wanted the name Powerball, but they couldn't because Vader had it coined. That's not true either at all.
You know what? I almost said, is that true, Dave? Like you almost had me, like my eyes perked up.
That's not true. We're just making stuff up now. So when the CWA toured the States, he defeated Otto Wands for the CWA Heavyweight Championship in Colorado. He would end up winning that title 3 times over 4 years. So obviously he's climbing up in the ranks. Then we get into some fun stuff.
Well, and it's super important here too, because nowadays we're so used to wrestlers starting out of the training center. And back here, like, he was seasoned like way before he came to the States. He was in Europe. He was in Japan. Dave's getting into his Japan stuff right now.
Yeah,
he was in Minnesota here. That's how he broke into the U.S., even though he was born here. But he really was like started his career, the chunk of it, in Japan. Dave's going to get into something he's very famous for. But man, it's so fucking important that wrestlers get seasoned in not just other territories in the U.S., but Japan used to be such a big training ground. You always read everyone's book, from Hogan to he's the only name I think of right now, because really he's the only one you need to know. Like even Flair and like even Austin when he was younger, and
Jericho,
even Brett, Jericho, Benoit, like Dynamite Kid, Guerrero, like all these guys, they all would talk about in their books, every one of them. When I did my tour of Japan, and they have like a whole thing in Japan about how they learned how to be a little bit snug in there, how to make stuff look a little bit more real and crisp. And that's so lost now. It's so lost. I don't know what kind of wrestler he would have been if he just stayed in the US, Vader. I think Vader had to go to Europe, to Mexico, to Japan, and really like he got to get in there and show his strength off a little bit. And we're going to talk about it later. In one particular promotion he ends up with in the US later, it kind of works against him. He gets known as the stiff guy. People complain about him and shit like that. But like, man, what would have Vader been if he wasn't a beast like that we saw in WCW when we first got to know him? So I don't want to derail you too much here.
Maybe another Zeus, but that's probably
yeah. It's so fucking important to me that like he got seasoned overseas. I can't state that enough.
It's a big deal. And this is kind of where it gets to be fun. Originally signed to All Japan Pro Wrestling in '87, owner Giant Baba traded Leon White's contract, better known as Vader, right, to New Japan Pro Wrestling. There, White would change his name to Big Van Vader in 1987. Yeah. He began wearing his trademark black helmet. Look at Jess's picture in the background, which is the coolest thing ever, which blew smoke from the top when he would take it off, and it just like almost the sound I make is how it sounded on TV. Just that big, coming up. Such a cool gimmick. His character was based off Japanese folklore. After Antonio Inoki defeated an opponent, Vader would challenge him to a match and would easily defeat Inoki. This is what's so cool about Japan. If someone comes in that's unknown, you don't know what they're about, and they're massive, they could just walk in, and Japan's like, no, this is realistic. This could work. Let's ride with this guy. And they really did get fascinated by U.S. wrestlers or people from other parts of the world and put the title on them. And I think that was some of the greatest things that New Japan did back in those days. And Leon was no exception. But this did cause a riot, and New Japan was banned from the Sumo Hall for 2 years because of it.
That is big. That's huge. That was the first big moment. Nobody talks about that moment. Nobody beat Antonio Inoki. He fucking never lost, ever. So it kind of cursed him. He was an owner booker. and they always get that heat. Inoki was a really good athlete, actually, and he was a very good professional wrestler. Inoki, to his detriment, loved MMA and always loved the martial arts, and he always wanted to incorporate that in his wrestling. So the fact that he allowed this guy, there was something about Vader that he liked, that he was a big, imposing American, and that he could actually pose a threat to Inoki. So Inoki finished up a wrestling match, won, and then Vader comes out, this new guy, and challenges him and basically squashes him. And people legitly fucking rioted. They were so mad that their hero got beat, and they couldn't fucking handle it. And because of that, because they booked it, because wrestling is predetermined, obviously, the owners of the halls, like, you fucking get out of here. Like, you can't, that's their home. Like, the Sumo Hall is like a legendary arena for Japanese wrestling. And they were like, you can't come back here anymore if you guys are going to generate that kind of heat. It's amazing how wrestling is quote unquote fake and staged, but yet it produces such real organic moments like this.
And these aren't the bingo halls and like veteran lodges, Elks lodges from the U.S. This is like these are quiet, docile Japanese fans that clap to respected it. So to get them to riot in a sumo hall when their national hero has been beaten by a big old fat offensive lineman with a big helmet who could fly off the turnbuckle at 400 pounds with the agility of a leopard, like they rioted.
You know why though? Because it's still real to them, Craig. So,
yeah, it will always be.
That's right. So, in 1989, Vader actually won a tournament to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, becoming the first non-Japanese wrestler to hold that title. And
I never thought about that or knew that until I did the research.
Yeah, because you know,
Hogan's
amazing. Held titles over there in Japan, but not this title.
Well, Hogan's been the IWGP champion, but it was when it was won in a tournament every year. It was before it was an actual belt and defended title. Hogan won it in the annual tournament. And so he was considered an IWGP champion. But if you go look up in Wikipedia or any title history, there's an asterisk by it because he won it before. And then when they started using it as the heavyweight championship of that promotion, then it was defended every match. But Hogan won it when it was an annual tournament that you would win it from.
Got it.
So it's a little different, like back then. So I think that's why Vader, actively defending heavyweight champion, he was the first non-Japanese. First or Hogan's part Japanese, and none of us knew that all these years.
Is that how Hulk Hogan got his Japanese air conditioning commercial? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Friday.
So fucking it's so ridiculous. Oh my god, I love it. I have to put that clip in right now, by the way, too, because I know it's out there on YouTube.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh, God.
And Vader got a Sony commercial, like all the gaijins who went, like the big guys get commercials, and like Vader was saying he got $50,000 to do a Sony commercial, which was very rare in Japan. Like that's a huge deal. It's like a Budweiser spot.
That's also why Vader is.
You want the best audio equipment?
It's Sony time.
I was going to do.
He's trying to make an S with it, like
That's why they have characters based off Vader in video games from Japan, like Saturday Night Slam Masters. Alexander the Greater, he comes out in the trademark Vader mask. King of Fury and Fighter series.
That's what's behind you, right, cuz?
That one is the Alexander the Greater from Saturday Night Slam Masters, but he's also a character that they based off his old look with the like the luchador type style mask with the red and black.
Before he won
he's called Raiden in the Fighter Fury Fighter series or whatever it's called. But all Japanese games, they love the guy over there, man.
Oh yeah,
that's a testament to him.
Absolutely. And then this is the really famous thing that people always catch on YouTube. On February 10th of 1990, Vader faced Stan Hansen as part of the New Japan Pro Wrestling as All Japan Pro Wrestling event versus, right? So during the stiff brawl, Hansen's thumb actually poked Vader in his eye. This causes the eye to come out, and literally it says of the socket, Dave.
Pounded the dog out of each other, and it was, and I ended up, I guess hit him in the eye, and and then he had this mask on too, and he pulled the mask off, and I couldn't say, I could see his eye was, but I couldn't tell because I can't see past here, but anyway.
I'm just reading Jess's notes, but it really did. I mean, his eye was literally out of his socket.
So it just goes to show how fucking hard Hansen was punching anyway, and he's always been known for his stiff shots. The big famous thing about Hansen is he can't see well. He needs glasses outside the ring. So people are always making jokes like, can he really not see that well, or does he really just like potatoing the shit out of people and then saying, "Oh, sorry, my eyes, man. My eyes."
I think it's a combination of both.
But I mean, for him to, yes, it's the right angle. It's like you have to punch at the right angle. He had to scoop the eye socket or at the right angle to do it. But the force of his hand had to have been going hard for it to just get in there and do the damage. It popped his eye out of the fucking socket,
like a fucking
and he popped it back in, and he fucking continued the match.
Yeah,
it's
amazing.
amazing.
He took his mask off, pushed it back in, and then kept going. Because Vader's like, it's just an eyeball. I got
needed like bones reset in his face or something. Like, it wasn't just the eye.
I said it over here. The
surgery.
next sentence, Dave. The next note.
Yeah, it was a metal plate was surgically inserted beneath his eye for it to heal. Like, wow. This match became famous in the industry and caught the attention of WCW. They made a deal with New Japan Pro Wrestling for Vader to make a handful of appearances for them. While he was still the champion over there.
I have an image of like WCW execs me like, do you want to see a dude's eye get popped out? Like they put in the VHS tape. It's like, dude, look at that.
Young JR. Look at this guy.
My God.
Before the
I'm still watching video.
Spectacular.
Nope.
What's funny too, I can see them.
He was young though back then.
Yeah, he said,
My God, you guys got to see this guy.
I can see him bringing like the TV. You know how they got to wheel the monitor over? That's got the VCR. It's all tied together like in school. They got to wheel it.
The big, the strap holding it down.
Yeah.
For those of you kids, a VCR.
Mr. Hurd, you got to see this guy.
We got to get him over here.
He has a helmet, and its smoke comes out of the top of it. It's fantastic.
Oh my God.
That's too young. I know that's too young, JR.
No,
like,
that's fine. That's
like,
Perfect.
It's actually pretty
It's
close.
like teenage Jim Ross. You guys coming to my house for my 16th birthday? My God.
My God. Oh, yeah.
Boomer Sooner, guys, right? Boomer Sooner. Saturdays.
Saturdays. It's coming. Okay, I'm done. I can go on Jim Ross for forever.
Vader made his WCW pay-per-view debut at the Great American Bash in 1990, where he easily defeated the Z-Man.
That's horseshit.
Poor Z-Man. Jeez.
That sounds like it should have been on Monday.
You guys, am I on the card? Oh, you're on the card.
You're facing Vader.
You're facing some newcomer. Oh, really? Yeah.
Who's
What was it,
Vader?
30-minute match? 40 minutes?
Z-Man.
You're getting squashed, bro.
Yeah.
You're getting squashed.
I'll season him up. Z-Man will teach him.
Yeah.
Z-Man, I got you, bro. I got you.
Yeah, where's he at? Let me meet him. Oh, my God.
We always do this. We're like, who am I? Oh, shit.
You're on the sheet.
What do you want to do, boss? Well, I do
much
this
this guy
clubbing
weigh?
forearm thing, and then I'll do a 360 moonsault and land on your face, and then I'll actually just put all my 400 pounds butt first on you, and then I'm just going to punch the shit out of you into your eyes.
Z, the booker said this is a squash match. I apologize. My name's Leon, by the way.
Tom, I'm Leon.
Whether you like it or
So
not.
good.
Hey, what kind of bump do you need me to do? I'm all game for it, Vader. Can you get the shit punched out of you? Can you do that bump? Because that's all I need to do. That's pretty much it.
But then we just thanked our lucky stars because Vader would appear at Wrestle War 1991 in a rematch with Stan Hansen, which went to a double DQ.
I thought you were about to say rematch with Tom Zank or rematch with Z-Man.
Z-Man.
Oh,
Fantastic.
That didn't happen.
He was even blessed to be at Halloween Havoc 1991 as part of the Chamber of Horrors match. He also competed in Battle Brawl at Starrcade.
I meant
91.
blessed in the sense I was being very sarcastic because the Chamber of Horrors match is widely considered one of the biggest pieces of shit wrestle crap ever in WCW.
A man got electrocuted in the middle of the ring, Jess.
Yeah, I'm showing lack of respect right now for sure, but
it's all good.
But Vader was in it.
He was in it,
Which I had no idea, actually.
Once he lost the IWGP title to Antonio Inoki in March of 91.
Oh, lost to Antonio Inoki. That's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know how that happened. Vader was free to be available to WCW more often. However, on March 1st of 1992, he formed a team with Bam Bam Bigelow called Big, Bad, and Dangerous.
That's terrible. What a terrible
how long
name.
it took
Like, what an amazing tag team with the
You're
worst
right,
name.
Sounds like an 80s rock song.
But they won the
It's an
IWGP
album name. It's the name of an album.
Wow, you're big, bad, and dangerous.
Bam Bam playing the sax.
you gotta sing it. You gotta sing it like you were the Too Cold Scorpio theme song.
That's their theme music.
We're big, bad, and dangerous.
It's like a woman.
Coaching for the win. Nice
Why is
job,
Bam
buddy.
Bam and Vader posing with a white tiger and a Corvette?
Oh no. But they won the IWGP tag titles from Hiroshi Hase and Kinji Muto. The reign would only last 4 months.
Who is known as the Great Muta.
The Great Muta. There it is. But
And
they only lasted 4 months because Vader re-injured the eye again. So Big Bad and Dangerous would lose those titles to the Steiner brothers as a result. That must have been a barn burner.
And Vader in a shoot interview actually doesn't really bury Bam Bam, but always said that although they were a good tag team, Bam Bam could never go more than 10 minutes, which I don't really think that's
I don't
true. I
believe
would never
that.
say
Yeah.
Bam Bam is
I've seen
not
Bigelow
having
work a
cardio.
lot. Yeah.
Maybe back then he did, but
Even later in his career when he carried LT,
later-
that was longer than
yeah.
a 10-minute match.
Yeah.
Brett,
I don't-
King of the
I don't
Ring,
believe it. But
all that
you
good
could
stuff.
argue that Bam Bam was in better shape later on too. I think he
Yeah.
was a lot bigger.
We toured, when we formed the tag team, we became tag champs for Noki. We seemed to sense that, hey, we were good together and we complimented each other and we knew how to feed each other. So I think for that sake, we got along better. But, for the most part, I don't think he liked me.
Bigger.
yeah.
Vader, but I'm not. Yeah, I still don't believe it. I think Bam Bam can go.
I
for
mean,
a while.
he went in
He
ECW,
totally could.
so
Yeah, he always could.
Yeah. All right, so now we're getting to WCW days '92. After recovering, Mr. Vader, because that's all I will ever call him, because he'll come back from the dead, not me if I don't. Dedicated his time fully to WCW. This is where Bill Watts worked him heavily to their plans. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that.
It's the only fucking good thing he did in his
That's right.
2 minutes there running that promotion.
In April of '92, Vader was given Harley Race as a manager. He took on Sting for the WCW heavyweight title. He would be DQ'd but continued to attack Sting and crack the champion's ribs. In actuality, Vader did injure Sting's ribs for realsies, and Sting had to compete on a part-time schedule to remain on TV while those injuries actually healed. On July 12th of '92, Vader would defeat Sting to become the WCW World Champion. This was really historic, mainly due to the way Vader won. He just cleanly pinned Sting to win the match. Heels don't do that in the WCW, WWF. WCW was in rebuild mode though, and they decided to go out on their own and make a monster heel as their champion. This greatly influenced the WWF with their eventual rise of Yokozuna. But this, Jess, we talk about this all the time. Vader being able to do this as a heel in any of these two major federations, like it didn't happen. It didn't happen this way.
I will say it until I'm blue in the face. Like there's very few situations where WWF actually copied WCW, but this was one of them. Vince is not a land of the heels. Vince never liked that. And when Vader was trusted to do that, all of a sudden, about 4 months later, they bring Yokozuna up from the independents, and he's like their number one heel, beating faces. Not even clean. They made Yokozuna cheat still, but they trusted that big monster heel like to be the champion, and Vince actually copied World Championship Wrestling at this point.
And one move has cost him and cost him dearly.
Ray's calling for the powerbomb. And he just planted him for the powerbomb. And Vader has won. Vader has won the world title.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the match and new WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Big Ben
Big Bad Vader, the new WCW Heavyweight Champion of the world.
And you can see, Jim Ross, the crowd is stunned. They can't believe it here in Albany, Georgia. They are stunned.
Stinger needs some medical attention. There's no doubt about that. The fans here are very
At this point. And then I have a story about, so we talk about Joe often on this podcast. He's a big wrestling fan as well. He actually got me into WCW when I first met Joe. He's like, oh, I have cable. I have TBS. Do you watch NWA? And I was like, no, I don't. And so he kind of introduced me to Flair and the Road Warriors and all that stuff in like 88, 89. So he was traveling with his father, who at the time he moved people. He worked for not U-Haul, but United. He drove the big semis, and he would pack up people's entire homes, and he would drive them when they moved across state. So Joe was out working for him, so he was going to miss the Great American Bash 92, which is where Vader took on Sting for the world title. So we see the event, we see what happens. Joe calls me the next day. This is way before like cell phones and texting and all that. He calls me the next day. He's like, "Don't tell me anything. Did Vader beat Sting?" And I said, "Yes." And he's like, "I dreamed about that last night." And he was like, "How did he do it?" And I was like, "He powerbombed him and beat him clean." He's like, "I dreamed he beat him with the powerbomb." And I was like, "He did." I don't know why that story's like, it's just funny. That's Joe and I's story of Vader winning. And Joe loved Vader. And we were just so excited that Vader, like this monster heel, was allowed to kind of control the promotion a little bit. And then he beats Sting. Sting is he was no mid-card wrestler. Sting was like their guy. Like he was their
Sting
only
was Sting, man.
At the worst parts of WCW, like Sting was their only cling on to. Fuck, we still got Sting, and for Vader, I will never forget that powerbomb. He folded him in half for the love of Pete, and just pinned him.
The realism of watching Vader versus Sting was incredible. Like Sting was getting the shit kicked out of him. But they brought out the best in each other, and Sting always earned that comeback. You truly thought that he was never gonna beat like Vader. He just beat the snot out of everybody, and I couldn't imagine having like a house show run for that many months with like Vader and Sting. But like, what a series and what a feud they were together, and to keep him booked as a monster like he was too, like it kept what he did in New Japan.
And because Sting was so damn good, and we saw it with Foley. The way Sting was just able to adapt to anybody, which real champions do that. He just saw Vader's style, and he's like, "Look, if I'm not going to take stiff shots," and he gave it back, and Vader insists that you give it back to him. Vader does not want to to smother you in the ring. Vader, we'll talk about it later, when he's fighting a lot of people, you see him grit his teeth. He's like, hit me. In so many matches, he's like gritting his teeth and telling his opponent, like, fucking go off on me, man. Hit me. Like, he loves it. He wants that physical contact. He loves that stiffness. That's his style. And Sting didn't even blink, we're going to get into some motherfucker who bitched about Vader later. But Sting was just like, let's do it. Like, let's do it. This guy's a monster. He handles people like roughly, and I even have read in people's books too and stuff. Harley and Sting worked with Vader a lot behind the scenes to just at least try to tone him down a little bit. Like, listen, like, yeah, stiff looks good and it looks real, but you got to calm down a little bit, because you're going to be working as champion. You're going to be working with a bunch of different people, and you have to be able to adapt to their style. Some people are not going to like you knocking the living shit out of them. Like, so you have to learn how to calm it down a little bit.
And kudos to Sting's toughness, by the way, to never complain, exactly like his, we'll talk about it later, but probably the counterpart of him in WWF wasn't tough in any way at all and was a bitch. But kudos to Sting for showing that toughness. You wouldn't think of it as a pretty blonde boy from Southern California,
that's why it should have been Ultimate Warrior versus Vader, man. They both like to go stiff. They both like to run hard in the ring.
Good Christ.
Hey, Andre bitched about Warrior. Slow down.
No, baby.
Slow down.
We're getting way off the rails here. So, all right.
But it was young Andre, so I was like, no baby oil.
And then young Jim Ross walks in the room. What's wrong, Andre? What are you talking about?
No, piss break, Ross. Piss break.
Slow down. Vince.
Hey, brother, what are you guys doing in here, brother? Like, everybody's young.
Just young versions of all the impressions.
Hey, brother, what's going on over here, brother?
Piper. Come on, man.
We're still on fucking page 2, right, guys?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Got 4 more hours.
Oh, shit. Oh, God damn it. Sorry, Dave. Let's take a drink now.
It's like the Muppet Babies of wrestlers. It's fantastic.
No one's ever. Oh, they kind of did do that. Camp WWE was sort of the young.
Yes, they did.
Those are kind of fun, but we're getting back to it. So the reign was cut short due to Vader re-injuring his knee. He would lose the title to Ron Simmons in a house show only 3 weeks later. Was that the first WCW African American champion, by the way?
I think it was the first one in general. Like, I think he was considered the first Black Heavyweight champion ever.
Yeah. Fantastic stuff. Just a little tidbit there. Vader would be out of action until October, where he defeated Nikita Koloff clean in the middle of the ring. And at WCW Worldwide TV tapings in November, Vader was in a match versus 2 enhancement wrestlers. One of them was Joe Thurman. In the match, Vader brutally powerbombed Thurman, causing him to break his back. I don't know if you can get a 3-second spread on that, Jess, but that
yes.
Yeah, that is absolutely horrifying.
So, and if you go back and watch the footage, actually, I'm convinced the chokeslam did it. He chokeslammed the shit out of him. And I think the chokeslam was what was bad. I think he landed on more of his like left or right shoulder, one of the two. This is only two. He just folded and then Vader went up to him, picked him up and looked at him and slapped the shit out of him and then put him in the powerbomb. And so if the chokeslam didn't do it, it was almost ready to break and the powerbomb finished him off. And
do you think Vader gave him a call? And
yes, no. Vader and Harley Race went to the hospital that evening with him because he got carted out, and Vader
and knocked him off the gurney and then picked him up and then that did
not happen.
And gave him another powerbomb for good measure right on the floor in the hospital. Him and Harley Race, they legitimately went to the hospital that night with him. And Vader, in a shoot interview years later, it says he regrets it. Like it was something that really bothered him for a while.
No, it's too bad.
But when you go back and watch it, no, I'm not trying to rip on Vader, but holy shit. Vader's one of those guys that's known for just brutalizing prelims. They're a pleasure to watch those matches, but not a pleasure if you're just thinking about what the poor guys, the enhancement talent, what they have to go through. And Vader fucked this guy up, man. Joe Thurman got thoroughly thrashed by Vader. It's hard to watch, and you're just like, holy shit, man. And Vader was just in character and had no remorse until after.
And that's their job, right? Vader would make guys at the mid-card level, but he would destroy anyone. But that was his job, to just, you are just fodder for me. You're just a piece of meat. I'm going to destroy.
Trying to say that Thurman was thoroughly thrashed on Thursday at Thunderdome.
On Thunder.
Nice tongue twister.
He was getting into it. I was like, all right. 2 days after Starrcade of 92, Vader would defeat Simmons in a house show to regain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Okay, a fucking house show, whatever. Vader would then face Sting at Super Bowl III in February in a brutal White Castle of Fears strap match. We did watch this just recently, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Match was 5-star. The vignette and concept was 0-star.
Yeah. Harley Race! Look at Race. He's hitting Sting's hands. He can't break him loose. He got it.
He touched it. Vader will win it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Super Bowl III main event, Big Ben Vader.
But he did touch all 4 corners and defeat Sting there.
Man, I don't write on about it, but I mean, the Sting, Craig touched on it a few minutes ago. The Sting feud is notable. I believe that put Vader on the map in the United States, because when Sting trusted him, I think people were like, okay. And even the promotion, because God knows WCW changed bookers or executives every day. And so it was just sort of, Vader was trusted. Bill Watts kind of said, I want to book a big monster, because Watts, when he owned the UWF back in the late 80s, he had monsters like Hacksaw Duggan, Bruiser Brody, Terry Gordy, those guys. Yep. And he always liked big, and One Man Gang was another one. And so he just liked big boys. So it was the only good thing that Bill Watts did was really push Vader to the top. But after Watts shortly left after probably within 4 or 5 months, and they still kept going with Vader all throughout 93. And it started here with Sting at Super Brawl. I'll talk about it later, but I think 93 is my favorite WCW year, and mainly it's my favorite WCW year because of Vader. And you're going to get into it, of all the amazing matches he has.
Here we go.
Starting here at Sting all the way down.
Yep. March 11th, 1993, Sting would defeat Vader for the WCW Championship on an overseas tour, and then Vader would win that title back 6 days later on the same tour.
Losing the World Heavyweight Championship to Sting just 6 days ago in London, has reclaimed that same title in Dublin, Ireland here tonight. His patented powerbomb rolled Sting up and pinned him. to take back the heavyweight championship of the world. Your new world heavyweight champion here in WCW for the third time, Big Van Vader.
Vader would hold the WCW title for the remainder of 1993. He engaged in several memorable feuds. Let's get into them now. He would face the British Bulldog in May at Slamboree 93. Their feud would continue through the summer, ending with a tag match at June at Beach Blast, 93, where Sting and Bulldog defeated Vader and Sid.
During that match, too, by the way, that match is when we first saw the moonsault.
Yeah, during that match, Vader did a moonsault off the top rope onto Davey Boy, and everyone in the front row shit their pants. I read the notes, just and then at Halloween Havoc of 1993, Vader would defeat Cactus Jack in a Texas death match.
Oh, yeah.
To this day, the match is one of the most brutal American matches ever. This is what starts like I think you should, because it really kicks Mick Foley into gear here, right? So this feud started earlier in the year where Vader would powerbomb Foley onto the concrete floor. Jesus.
Yeah, earlier that April, like he powerbombed him. They took Foley off TV. He was hurt. They did this stupid Lost in Cleveland skits where they pretended that Foley had amnesia. And but when he came back, like we knew, like as fans, we're like, dude, when those two fucking go at it, like
it was gonna be on.
Yeah, Foley doesn't give a shit, and neither does Vader. And like again, it's like Sting but different. Foley's so different from Sting, but yet like Foley was just like Sting was like, yeah, you could do like moves on me. Sting didn't do a lot of hardcore stuff with Vader, but Foley's like, you can hit me in the face with a chair. You could throw me on the concrete. Like, it was just kind of like Vader was probably like not knowing what to do. Like, I can do all of those things and you're not going to get mad at me. And he's like, no, not really. And like, so I cannot describe the Halloween Havoc match. We've talked about it before on the Legacy of Mick Foley.
Yeah.
And it is just fucking brutal. And that one spot where Foley jumps on his back like piggyback style and Vader falls straight back onto the ramp. They were on the entrance ramp. That fucking thud. I will never forget it. I just replayed it in my head right now and heard the sound. Like, and even Ventura on commentary was like, normally he'll have some funny saying to say. They did that move and Ventura just goes, whoa.
Vader carrying him back up to the runway, back to the graves again. Oh, falls back with him. Oh, whoa. That was 400 and some pounds. Yeah, watch out for Race, too.
He broke some ribs here.
And there was like dead silence afterwards. And Shivani was talking like a family member just died. He was like, he fell back on Cactus, and like they were just both like, holy shit. Like this match, Vader's bleeding like a pig, chairs are flying everywhere, like Vader gets thrown into the grave. Like on the site, they had like a fake grave site like up at the entranceway, and
that's right, yeah,
fully throws him in the grave. Like, yeah, so it's all awesome. It's amazing. Like, I cannot, just starting with Sting, Davey Boy synth matches were really good. The Slamboree match was excellent, and like Vader was on a roll here. But this match, good God, Halloween Havoc '93, go back and watch it. It doesn't matter. It still holds up. You can watch it now. Every second of it, you're like, oh my God.
Which match was it that Vader took Foley's ear?
Yeah,
in Germany,
that later too, but
it was Germany.
It was in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was in somewhere over there.
Vader would finally lose the WCW title for the last time at Starrcade 93 to Ric Flair in an absolute classic. The drama and booking of this match was near perfect.
Chopsy again! Oh, down he goes!
After being on fire for 93, 94 definitely took a different turn for Vader. He would headline Super Bowl IV against Ric Flair, but failed to win the WCW title there. He would then engage in a feud with the Boss, Ray Traylor, or Big Boss Man, as most people know him, and face him at 4 WCW pay-per-views in 94. Starting with Spring Stampede in 94, Vader would win all the encounters. In April of 94, Vader would face Cactus Jack in a tour of Germany. This was the infamous ear match that Cuz was just talking about. Yeah, no, you were close. You were right on the verge of it, man. We're only talking about a 4-month difference of where you were, so you're right there. Crazy. And then Slamboree in May of 94, Vader would lose to Sting for the vacant WCW International title. And then in Fall Brawl 94, Vader would defeat Sting and the Guardian Angel, who's the boss, Ray Trailer, the boss man.
The
right?
boss.
In a triangle match to determine the number one contender for the WCW World title. Vader would then defeat Dustin Rhodes at the Clash of Champions in November to become the number one contender for the U.S. title. That's interesting. So Vader defeated Sting for the WCW World title, and then got
the number one contendership for Hogan.
Yeah, for WCW World title, but I guess he didn't win, or he didn't get to do it, or
no, he didn't. He didn't. It's a whole thing too. Hogan backstage was not a fan of Vader because he didn't like his stiffness. Hogan can't wrestle that style. Are you shitting me? So if you go into WCW like Hogan did, he looks at the tape of Vader and he's like, "Let me watch a Sting match, brother. Oh God." All right, let me watch what he did with Cactus Jack. Holy shit, brother! No. Yeah. I'll face the Butcher. Thank you very much.
I'm not really feeling that, brother.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into it.
He defeats Dustin Rhodes in November to become the number one contender for the U.S., and then he defeats Hacksaw Jim Duggan to win the U.S. title.
Brother.
But obviously,
at Starrcade in '94.
It was at Starrcade in '94. Okay.
Yeah.
He ran into his own board.
Well, you know that saying, Siobhan, you live by the board, you eat the board.
Face first goes Duggan.
This looks like it. 1, 2. Yes. What a way to end 94.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the match and new United States Heavyweight Champion, Vader.
Yeah, okay, that's just the notes are off there. So yeah, Starrcade 94, Vader would defeat Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I'm sorry. And then frustrated that Hogan would not grant him a title shot despite winning all matches to qualify him as the top challenger, Vader confronted Hogan at the end of Starrcade in 1994 with a great promo.
Go back and watch that promo. It's, we talk about later when DX first gets started. They start kind of saying sunny days and like they'll start throwing that. Vader was actually legitly pissed in the background, in behind the scenes in WCW because Hogan was ducking him. Not because it's a real sport, but because like Vader's like, fucking fight me. Like everybody knows that you fight monsters, and Hogan legitly didn't. He didn't really like Vader. He didn't really like Vader's style. I don't think he disliked Vader as a person. He just didn't like him as a style. Hogan was fucking old.
Did. Hogan saw Vader as Warlord in WCW.
Can we have a battle royal where I can eliminate you, brother?
Yeah. But he's actually good, brother. I mean,
so and the fans, and I loved Hogan back here too, but I remember being like annoyed, and then he busts in. Hogan fights the Butcher at Starrcade '94, and probably the worst ever Starrcade instead of Vader. Vader wins the U.S. title that night. Vader goes in the locker room when Hogan's talking to Gene Okerlund and cuts an awesome promo where he's like, it basically says, he's like, I've won the U.S. title. I've won number, like, what is there left for me to do? And like, he's staring at Hogan, and Hogan actually looks scared because when you're standing in front of Vader, like Hogan, you can see Hogan kind of like Vader was just pissed off. And he goes, hey, brother, do you want to know how to kill a snake? You cut its head off. And I was like, oh my God, like just the fact that even he said that, even I'm sure they went over that with Hogan before, he told Hogan what he was going to say, the fact that like it was real, like Vader was calling him out, like you're ducking me, like you're not a man, you're not a real champion. And he's like, did the snake comment, what do you do to kill a snake? You cut its head off. And like, and I was like, holy shit, like there's a lot of people in wrestling, like especially dirt sheet writers and people who are quote unquote smart marks, they absolutely hate Hogan. So this made a lot of the inside wrestling fanatics pop because Vader stood in his face on live pay-per-view and said those things. And it got people excited. It didn't go anywhere, as Dave's going to read out.
Too bad they screwed it up. So here we go, right? At Super Bowl 5 in 1995, Vader finally got a shot at the WCW World Championship by facing Hulk Hogan in the main event. The match ended in a DQ when Ric Flair came in and attacked Hogan. So
a DQ.
And then we lead to Uncensored 1995, where Hogan would defeat Vader in a strap match after dragging Flair drag to all four corners.
That's awesome.
Yes, I did read that.
No, because Hogan keeps his heat, but Vader, I mean, it's perfect. It works perfect for Hogan.
This match was a disaster.
How's Hogan never a heel in all these? Like, I just.
But he's got to do it to Vader. Why are they ringing the bell? He's got to do it to Vader.
Vader's back in.
He can't do that, Tony.
Hulk Hogan dragged Ric Flair around, touching all four corners.
Yeah, he's not even heel.
I don't
yet.
want to
He's
be a
not-
heel, brother.
This is
Oh,
and by the way, this is pre-NWO. We haven't
that's what
gotten
I'm
there
saying.
yet, right?
The things with Macho
So,
Man and everything.
but this obviously shows that WCW only had plans for Vader to play second fiddle to Hogan.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, Terry. So this is the 8th option. It's the last one.
Why don't we?
He'll drag Flair and touch all four corners with Flair.
All right, brother. Well, we'll see. I'll decide the night of, but all right. We'll do that.
Open the house. Open the house. We're good. Let's just go. Open the house.
Fucking ridiculous.
You know, he probably told them too, like, pitch this in front of me, in front of the boys. It's my idea, brother. It's your idea, brother. And then I'd be like, yeah, brother. I guess, brother. If that's what you want me to do. You're the boss, brother.
Let me stroke it. No, yes.
No, yes.
Have me saying, I want to put Leon over, brother.
Like, think about that for a minute. So, and going back to Super Brawl 5, they had 13,000 fans in that fucking building. They actually legitimately sold it out because people were like, we want to see Vader and Hogan. And all Hogan had to do was fucking job. That's all he had to do.
Yeah.
And then they could have put the stock back in Hogan. Hogan could have won it in a rematch. That's the way shit works. Like,
right.
But no, Hogan's like, no, like, you're not going to beat me. So they ended a schmoz there. Then they do the disastrous fucking uncensored match, which, because it's uncensored, brother, it makes sense that I can drag Flair.
Lights out.
Why would Flair let you know?
Flair was such a team player, it's ridiculous, like how bad he was abused.
But
and
Vader does have unkind things to say about Flair, too, about Flair double-crossing him.
To do?
But at least, but with Hogan, like, Flair was, I mean, Vader was fine with losing as long as you have a longer program that makes sense where you can all make money together. But Hogan was just never willing to take the first loss or second loss for, like, the blow-off. It was always Hogan.
Well, Hogan's money was Hogan's money at that point,
Yeah.
and it definitely didn't matter. So the money was already there, he can pretty much say whatever he wanted to do.
No, brother.
And that's where they went wrong.
As he poses next to Vader in your background picture, brother. We're brothers.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, come on, give me a hug.
Get close to me,
show
brother.
My arms are in better shape than yours, brother.
Get close to me, brother. Get close to me.
You know
How about you won't go over, but I'll put you on Thunder in Paradise and we'll do a little thing together.
Still show my arms are bigger than yours, brother.
Here's the program. You're never going to beat me.
Huh?
Hogan's surrounded by two.
Good talk,
friends
Leon.
right there,
Good talk,
actually. Look at
brother.
that.
Let's go get ready.
Hogan is right in between fucking hostile territories right there. Macho Man and Vader.
Yeah.
So
I'm their friends, brother. They both like
in May at Slamboree 95, Hogan and Savage would defeat Flair and Vader in a tag match after Hogan pins Flair. Like, I'm just going to keep pinning Flair.
All right.
It's like, God. Vader would receive his final opportunity at the WCW.
I beat Vader again, brother.
but at the same time, he's crapping on Flair, who's like,
it's just interchangeable.
Like, come on, man. It's just, facing
Every
Hogan
time, like, they write the results in, like, any historic, like, magazine or, like, results book, it's like, Hulk Hogan defeats Flair, parentheses, and Vader. Like, every single fucking, every match.
And
just
Vader.
like the Warlord, brother. Put Warlord on there, too.
That's right. Yeah, don't forget the Warlord. So Vader would receive his final opportunity at the WCW World Title, facing Hogan in a steel cage at Bash of the Beach in '95. This event was literally held on the beach. They all got a tan. It was very nice. Hogan would escape the cage and retain his title.
Oh man! So finally getting his revenge over Vader's victory.
Stop and think about what you're saying. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of the year. The build-up. Okay. Super Brawl 5, DQ, uncensored, beat not Vader, somebody else that he beat to win the match. Then they had a tag match, beat Flair,
not Vader,
and then Vader with so much heat going into Bash at the Beach loses again. So what an amazing feud!
Yeah.
It was just fucking wow. That's how wrestling should be done, guys. That's how you draw money right there. You squash your goddamn opponent every fucking pay-per-view.
Speaking of squashing great people, this makes a lot of sense. At Clash of Champions in August, Vader would defeat Flair and Arn Anderson in a handicap match. That did great things for Flair and Anderson, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But this would actually turn Vader face. He was then scheduled to be the first ever Nitro, where he would agree to be on Hogan's War Games team at the upcoming September pay-per-view Fall Brawl. However, it would not work out. So we have a story here which is told slightly different by a lot of people. Some witnessed it, some only heard about it. During a backstage interview taping session, Vader had an altercation with road agent Paul Orndorff. Vader was told Eric Bischoff last minute that he needed to attend these tapings. Vader became very agitated and reluctantly went to the arena. Once there, he said he was already in a grumpy mood, became very confrontational with Orndorff. It ended up with Orndorff, quote unquote, knocking Vader out on his feet. What? Shortly after this, Vader was fired from WCW. So let's dig into that, because I'm sure.
I've heard Shivani's told the story. Vader's done shoot interviews on it. Orndorff has done shoot interviews. I mean, everyone kind of describes the confrontation the same, but Vader described it more as like, I knew Orndorff was going to hit me. I kind of let him hit me because I remember Vader pushed him down before or something to start it. And then
he almost hit his head on like a steel toolbox or something.
Yeah. So when
when
Vader saw that he almost like really hurt him, Vader backed off and knew that Orndorff was going to fire back. And then Orndorff fired back. And Vader said, I just kind of allowed him to hit me.
Paul, are you okay? And he looked like he was coming to because he hit the ground hard. I slapped the shit out of him. So Paul's got a right arm about the size of this wrist all the way up. And he's 200 pounds. I mean, he's really in bad shape, physically. He's not the Paul Orndorff that you would, that 260, 270 pound guy. He's like 200 pounds, 215. And so when he gets up and I'm thinking, you know what, if I fight him back and do what I think I should do to defend myself, I'm going to get fired at the very least, and maybe I'm going to hurt him because he's just, so I thought I had slapped him initially, so I wanted to get that back, so I let him hit me in the face, and it was nothing. It was that weak right hand, and he hit me a second time, hit me a third time, and I drug him down with me. And Paul, some of the
hit me. Whereas, Heenan was there. I want to say Heenan was there. I think he saw it. Shivani said he saw it. And they all said that Orndorff just kind of knocked the shit out of him. But Vader's side of the story is I pushed him down. He barely missed like a metal bench, which I would have fucking like killed him. And so he realized, okay, like, I'm not going to look good in this. Like, he's an older wrestler. He's got like an injured arm. Like, I'm going to back off. And I don't think he realized that Orndorff could fight well. I mean, everybody knew that Orndorff was tough, but I think Orndorff started opening up on him and like hitting him with some good shots. And he probably did stun the shit out of Vader because I don't think Vader really expected him to retaliate that much. But that's just me speculating. So when you hear that, Orndorff told the story just pretty much straightforward that like he beat the shit out of Vader, like that Vader challenged him, he got in Vader's face, and then he decided to clock Vader, or Vader pushed him and then he clocked Vader. I don't even know if Orndorff knew, maybe, to believe Vader, how close he came from bashing his head on the metal bench. I think that factors into a lot. I think Vader saw a lot of stuff that the other people didn't see, and then a lot of people just came in when they heard the scuffling, and they walked in with Orndorff retaliating with right hands connecting to Vader, and Vader pretty much just getting knocked silly.
Just letting it happen. If you're the kind of guy that Leon is, and you see things in Leon's eyes and in Vader's eyes, and you realize that you broke a dude's back a few years ago as well, you're really looking at stuff and go, wow, I really could have hurt him right there. I need to back off.
And then thinking like, you know what?
He's backing off. The guy unleashes on him.
I'm getting mad over promos. I'm mad. I don't have sleep. I'm injured. I'm in a bad mood. And then you just realize I just pushed the fucking Paul Orndorff
road
down.
Agent.
Road agent and a legend. And a legend. And then like I need to chill out. And then when he's thinking that in his head, Orndorff's up because he's a legit tough guy, Orndorff, and he's fucking firing. Yeah, he's firing back on him. It's like, oh shit, and then everybody runs in the room and sees,
But the story, the legend that we all heard, was Orndorff in flip flops beat the shit out of Vader.
Yeah.
And I always ran with that, and I always believed that. But listening to Vader's side of the story, where like he was grumpy, he had no sleep, he had to do a 4-hour photo shoot, and in the middle of it, he realized I should not be fighting with a road agent, even though the only two people that I was ever told as my boss is Bischoff and Dusty or whatever that was. But like, or maybe it wasn't Bischoff at the time; it was Dusty and someone else. But and then he said he kind of and he makes fun of Orndorff's arm in the shooting interview. He's like, he has a whole right arm, which is this punching arm, which is like thinner than my wrist or whatever the entire way up. But he kind of he claims that he let him. So maybe Vader's saving face, and you never know the true story. But I could see that with like Vader in the middle of it was like, oh
Feeling
shit,
bad.
I'm going to be in a lot of
but
trouble.
But I've seen that in real life where someone thought they really hurt someone and they totally back off and then they get
lit
caught.
up.
I've seen that happen. That's sounds
Yeah.
legit to
And then
me.
Flair was in the
prep
background
meetings for
taking
this
bumps.
podcast.
And in the
I'm
background,
sorry.
Yeah.
in the
Flair was just
background,
taking the
Hogan
bumps.
pinned Flair. Hogan
Yeah,
pinned Flair.
exactly.
And then he looks.
See, I
he's
won
like,
again, brother.
I beat you, brother. I beat Vader.
Yeah.
I find it funny that Flair's
like,
always in the area for all these little incidences. This one, and then he was the one that tells the story of Rick Rude knocking out Warrior in the back.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Flair's just there.
He's always there.
You know what's going on? Yeah. This is just fucking
And young
stupid.
Jim Ross is there.
The world champion.
So to end 95 after Vader gets fired, he makes a brief
Okay.
trip to Japan.
Quick
for
story
New
about
Japan
that.
Wrestling.
Vader claims that as why he left is Bischoff wanted to fine him half his year's salary, which was ended up being
Jeez.
I didn't even know that.
$400,000.
Oh shit.
That's ridiculous.
So Vader says
For
he
getting
said
the shit beat out of him.
he's like
fire me.
$400,000, 6 months of work. Like how about like 150 or whatever? And then when he couldn't come to an agreement, Vader left or said he left. Now that's all obviously Vader and blah 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 and who knows, but
That's a lot of money. But yeah.
Yeah.
But he goes back to New Japan Pro Wrestling to end 95. He rematches with Antonio Inoki, who's 50 years old.
come
But
on,
in a
man.
good match, Inoki
I watched that
just
actually, and
squeezed that
it was
out.
actually good. I mean, you watch them, and I'm
Stop
just like, there were shells of their former selves at this point, because Vader, the injuries were really stacking up on him here,
Yeah.
and you didn't really know it until you read on here in a second that he goes to WWF. But
Yeah.
it was actually a really good stiff match, and again, it just shows you like that grit in Japan and that snugness is good, man. It can cover up for a lot of weakness, especially guys aging or injured. Like, and it was a good match, man. It was a good match to watch him rematch. It was kind of cool.
All I remember about Inoki is he wouldn't put Ali over in a boxer versus wrestler match, and it ended up being the dumbest, worst
match ever.
60 minutes of a mixed martial fight ever, or mixed.
Yeah. So we get into a 2-year stint with WWF. Vader would make his first appearance at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view in January of 96. Several vignettes were aired leading up to the pay-per-view advertising.
The Mastodon.
Real intimidating clips, though. Like Vader jumping on a trampoline.
It was all botched from the start. I'll never forget it. It was like Vader's coming, and I was like, "Oh my god, Vader's
I
going
can
to
see him like, it's Vader.
No, he's jumping up on a
I remember
trampoline. He's doing backflips and shit, which is impressive.
Yes.
But like, just watching him on a trampoline, I'm like, that's your big.
No.
Not like beating like no names up in a dungeon or something like that, or like him punching someone in the ring or whatever. Like instead, it was like him backflipping, like doing that on a trampoline and backflipping and stuff. And I'm like, are you fucking joking me right now? Like
I can just see
Jesus.
Pritchard going. I can see Pritchard like, go get a trampoline.
God,
yeah, trampoline.
I'm not
right now.
booked. Trampoline. You never know when the phone's gonna ring.
I'm not booked.
Sorry,
Not booked, man.
because he was on a trampoline with the weights.
I totally got it, bro. Totally.
Yeah, Dennis.
I was right.
Dennis Stamp was the whatever.
Yeah, Dennis Stamp.
It's funny in my head. It's really funny.
It's stupid.
Idiot,
really
Dave.
He was announced in the WWF as the man they call Vader. Jim Cornette would be his manager.
But
He would
McMahon wanted to change his name to Mastodon.
Yes,
because
McMahon
he
wanted to
doesn't
change his name
own
to Mastodon.
and
Yeah,
make all
'cause he
the
can
money
own it.
and blah blah.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That's horrifying. He would then enter the Royal Rumble at number 13, eliminating 4 people before facing off with Yokozuna. The two went at it. While distracted, Shawn Michaels would eliminate
of
Vader.
course he did.
The Golden Boy.
He started already.
Eliminate a 400-pound man. There he is.
Grand opening, grand
He's
closing.
just copying Hogan. He's just copying Hogan.
Honestly, that's
I knew it was like
absolutely
Hogan for a
100%
reason.
true.
It's like a jackknife 1, 2, 3, brother.
Brother.
The next week on Raw, Vader defeated Savio Vega After the match, he began to assault officials. Then President Gorilla Monsoon, the Patel attendant, stood in Vader's face and demanded that he stop. Vader then attacked Monsoon, giving him
Would you
a
be
Vader
serious,
bomb.
Big Van Vader?
That's terrible.
That's a terrible gorilla. I'm sorry.
Monsoon in there. That's the president of the World Wrestling Federation. Vader has completely lost it. Vader completely losing it. He had his one opportunity last night in the Royal Rumble, and he doesn't deserve it. Look at this. On Monsoon. No. Shawn Michaels coming. Here comes Razor Ramon.
I used to do a good job.
Will you stop?
Yeah, as a result, Vader was suspended, but this was to cover kayfabe for the fact that Vader needed shoulder surgery. Then Vader
shoots on the ground after a Vader bomb, and he just goes, "Will you stop?" Like he's on the ground. Like, "Will you
stop?" Vader then returned to WWE in the February In Your House pay-per-view as he attacked Yokozuna when he was facing the British Bulldog. Vader would then handcuff him and continue the attack. This was supposed to set up a one-on-one match for WrestleMania 12. However, due to the health of Yokozuna, it was turned into a six-man tag. Owen Hart, British Bulldog, and Vader versus Jake Roberts, Ahmed Johnson, and Yokozuna.
we can't do the singles match, Vince. Yoko's in bad shape.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do?
We're
gonna turn it into a tag match. No, deeper. Go. 6-man?
Yeah.
Well, yes. That's how bad Yokozuna was. Like at that point, and I don't mean that to be
Vader
rude.
would,
It's how
Vader
heavy
would
he was.
win the match by pinning Jake Roberts. I think this is the.
Wait.
This is the
Actually,
time
I think
in WWF where nothing's
I think
going
Hogan
right.
pinned Flair in that match.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it happened. Due to the decline of health of Yokozuna, Vader's feud with him was truly disappointing. Vader would eventually attack WWF Shawn Michaels and cleanly pin him at In Your House 9 in July to set up their main event match.
That's got to be a typo. You fucking read that
SummerSlam
wrong. That did not happen.
96. He cleanly pinned Shawn Michaels.
Oh,
No.
But not for the title, apparently. Right?
So stupid. I hate when they do that.
The month before SummerSlam, Vader and Michaels would headline house shows to great success. Unfortunately, the backstage politics in WWF were not kind to Vader because of Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels was very vocal about Vader being stiff in the ring and unsafe, which is total horseshit. During the match at SummerSlam, Vader was supposed to move out of the way when Michaels jumped to the top rope. Vader did not move, so Michaels landed on his feet next to a down Vader, kicked him in the head, and screamed, "Move!"
live on pay-per-view.
What else was he supposed to do?
Live on pay-per-view, this sack of shit. Why does anybody like this guy? Why the fuck? Like, I hate Shawn Michaels so much.
He's
Like,
one of the
I know you
greatest
do.
talents ever.
oh my god,
I know you
WWE
do.
business was
talking about,
down.
Jess?
Business was down. There was no reason
That's a
to
good
ride
cross-eye.
that pony. There's no
That's a good
reason.
cross-eye.
And then in the middle of a pay-per-view, he jumps off the rope, lands and looks and goes, "Move!" and kicks Vader in the face.
And got away with it.
And got away with it because he's a true
Vader
pro.
fucking shit.
Fuck, like, god damn it.
Vader.
There was also good. There was also a
He's a
shooting interview that-
perfectionist, Jess. Sean is a perfectionist.
Although it's a good match, Michaels is not.
It's funny that you say that because in Vader's shoot interviews, he actually sticks up for Michaels, and he's like, he's a perfectionist like me. I was like, bullshit. He sabotaged you.
Perfectionists don't
He
do that.
sabotaged you from the start. Cornette said in his one of his
Vader's
shoot
nice.
interviews
He's
too.
a nice guy.
Like Cornette said in his shoot interview during the house shows with Michaels and Vader, there was one house show where Vader gets him in the corner and he always would grab the opponent by the back of his hair and pull him down and club him.
Yep.
And he said that a couple spots later, Vader rolls outside the ring and Vader's like upset and he's like, fuck. And then Cornette's like, okay, whatever. And then they do the match or whatever. And he said, of course, Michaels pins him clean with a super kick. And he's like, so Vader and I are going to the back. He's like, are you all right? And he's like, no. And he said, like, he was on the verge of tears. And he was like, I pulled him in the corner like I always do. And he just said, if you ever fucking pull my hair like that again, you'll be unemployed, fat boy. And I was like, are you fucking serious right now? Like, Michaels got away with so much shit. Yeah. Like, and so he basically, I told him, if you ever fucking pull my hair like that again, you're going to be unemployed, fat boy.
Yeah.
Like, it's just fucking ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous what they fucking stood. Business was down. Like, it wasn't. Like,
they were
Jesus
the only
Christ.
highlight of that year, like in house shows and around the loop.
Yeah.
I mean, not to get too far off the rails with this, but there's even talk now. There's been tons of interviews now where Michaels was paid to stay home for 4 years.
Yeah.
Just so he wouldn't jump. Because he was, for some reason, Vince was that scared of what he was capable of doing elsewhere. It does baffle me that it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, Vince always said he reminds me of me. He reminds me of me when I was young.
That's weird.
He could have made a decent impact.
It's weird and not true.
Had he gone.
Yeah.
That's
Actually, he probably would have made a big
But yeah,
impact.
so unfortunately, Michaels, pulls the hissy in the back and causes Vince to lose trust in Vader. And, apparently Michaels was suspended for 5 years after this for kicking him in the head. That's what I heard. Oh, that
that's actually what happened. They fired him.
They fired
Why would it?
John.
Why would it?
Yeah. No,
Vader should have just went nail.
Can you, for all the crap that's talked about Hogan, has he ever done anything like that? Has he ever, you want to know why? Because he was such a big star, right or wrong.
Once he gets out there, pretty much he does the job that they.
Hogan handles his dirt in the back. He fucks over people behind their back and not in the ring.
Not in the ring. In the ring, it's all fucking straightforward.
Yeah, in the ring,
it's business. Yeah.
Michaels does both. He fucks him over behind the stage and then gets in there. He's like, move.
Flops around.
And he goes back and goes, I can't work with this guy. Look at this guy. I can't work with him.
Yeah.
I'm going to do some coke and bang Sonny.
So as a result, Vince would remove Vader from the main event picture. Originally, Vader was supposed to lose to Shawn at SummerSlam, then get a rematch at Survivor Series to win the title, and then Shawn win it back at Royal Rumble '97.
I'm young Shawn Michaels. I'm a sexy boy. I'm a boy type.
After the SummerSlam match, Vince put Sid in Vader's place. So
Vader it was supposed to be Vader. It was supposed to be Vader going to Survivor Series, beating Shawn at Survivor Series, winning the title, and then rematching at Royal Rumble, which was in Texas.
Right?
Yes,
yeah. It was all planned out, but they changed all that up. Vader would actually lose to Sid at In Your House in October in a #1 contenders match, and that puts Sid into the main event picture with Shawn. Right?
Bunch of horse shit.
Yeah. And then they just seemed to lose confidence in Vader after that. He would have a few.
Vader was so green at that point. He just couldn't be trusted in the ring. He was a rook,
He just came out of O.W.P,
Yeah. Can't be stiff with guys.
Baby.
I hate Shawn Michaels so much with I'm so bad. I'm so bad right now.
Yeah.
So there were some bright spots like defeating The Undertaker at Royal Rumble '97. After Paul Bearer revealed himself to be the new manager of Vader. He would put on a good showing at February In Your House Fatal 4 in the main event there. He was split open hard way, but still put on a very dominant performance there.
You remember that, Cuz? That's Cuz and I shared that before he even shared it with me. Like, the Fatal 4-Way is like my secret, like one of my favorite matches ever. Like, I love that match.
I love that match.
And then
shames, bro.
one was Vader. It was our secret. Vader got busted open and legitly bled everywhere, but like he showed balls, like he was fucking up, and then he was like pounding the Undertaker in the corner, and he looked so good here, like he looked strong.
Like
and it's one of my favorite performances of Vader too, because he wasn't dominating someone, he was actually just bleeding and looking sympathetic in a weird way, but he was like showing like mustard.
I don't
balls
remember.
And, yeah,
what was 13 Nash and Michaels? What was the main event of 13?
13 was Taker and Sid.
Okay.
That was the night of Hart and Austin, blah, 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 and all that stuff.
Got it.
Yeah.
And Michael's faking an injury and being on commentary. But go on. I'm sorry, Dave.
Oh, no. So
I'm sorry. I said that.
Yeah, so at WrestleMania 13, he and Mankind would team together against Owen and Bulldog, but failed to win the WWF tag titles there. After that, he basically fell further down the card, except for a brief feud with Bret Hart later in the year. He was also defeated by The Undertaker.
Who Vader did not like working with, by the way. In Vader's shoot interviews, he does not give props to Bret Hart.
I don't know how. Like, Bret even brought good... I don't know how.
And if you want to see a real good slugfest, I don't know. I don't remember which Raw it is. I believe it was 97 or 98 in that time frame. Him and Shamrock, fucking where he clocks Shamrock with a fucking mean hook. I mean, they were going stiff with each other.
And you know, I forgot to cover. I'm actually embarrassed by this.
They're
after WrestleMania 3, that pay-per-view after it was Vader versus Shamrock in Shamrock's first match in WWF.
13.
And it was after WrestleMania 13, whatever pay-per-view that was. And Shamrock legitly, I think, broke his nose or whatever in the match. And then like it was stiff, but it was very awkward. But give Vader credit. I can't believe I forgot to put that in the notes. Give Vader credit, even though Shamrock took naturally to wrestling, he was pretty good. They did it.
Vader was the general.
You could tell that it was a match that was booked like to have kind of stiff moments in there because Vader could take it. It reminded me of Bam Bam and LT, except for Shamrock is way more talented than LT in wrestling. But like Vader still never got props and he gets shit on at the end of '96 by Michaels, taken out of the world title program. Sid gets it.
With a lot of people.
Yeah, he fucking gets stuck in a tag title match at WrestleMania, and then they trust him to debut Shamrock, and he fucking takes a shot, gets his nose broken, in the match or whatever, and still carries Shamrock through. And like they don't give Vader any kind of fucking.
And I was going to say,
none.
This would be a good time to insert that clip because even for the audio listeners that are going to listen to it on audio, you can hear that fucking punch. Shamrock has him in the corner. I remember this vividly. Shamrock's actually going kind of light on him too, and then Vader just bam. You just hear it right at the side of Shamrock's
the nose
head.
break.
He just this wasn't.
No,
the
that
nose
was
break.
it. Got Shamrock fired up, but Shamrock broke his nose, but Vader I think Shamrock was still.
Exactly.
I think Shamrock was like, okay, I got to play this game. You know, I got to be careful with light. And then Vader, I'm sure, told him in the back, no, fucking hit me. And Shamrock, being a super legit tough guy, is like, you don't want me to hit you. You don't want me to hit you, buddy. And Vader's like, no, I really fucking do. And so like Cuz says, Vader just punches him for real to piss Shamrock off, and then Shamrock just starts going nuts on him, and it's like, holy shit,
that's awesome.
Wow! Good grief! The zone! He's in the zone! He's in the Vader zone! Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Which is what, to your point earlier, Jess, that's what he got the best out of people. And Vader will admittedly say, in order for me to get 5-star matches out of Flair, you had to be stiff with him.
Yes.
In order for me to get 5-star matches out of people, he didn't mind getting hit. He didn't mind getting it back as he gave it. And you know who else was stiff? And no one says he was stiff and he was very dangerous? Stone Cold. Every single person laughs it off. Stone Cold's like potatoes and his punches. And then all of a sudden, Vader is a monster.
Pat Patterson had.
It's like for some reasons Vader's punches are evil, and his
or Terry
downfall.
Funk, like to this day, Terry Funk. Everyone's like, "Do you want to know why Terry Funk's left hands look so good?" And everyone's like, "Why?" He's like, "Because he really he really punches you. Funk really fucking punches you." Hanson, same thing.
Jabs.
But yeah, you're right. Vader's a monster because piece of shit Shawn Michaels said so. So you know, like he's a terrible worker.
Whatever. That's terrible.
Apparently, he punched his smile off his face.
He did right off his fat face.
That's what happened,
motherfucker.
So basically, at this point, Vader's floundering down the card. He was defeated by the Undertaker in Your House 16. At Over the Edge pay-per-view on May 31st of '98, he would lose a mask versus mask match to Kane.
But did he really wear a mask though?
No, but he took it off every match. Like whenever Vader got hit, he took it off every match. Like
they're just thinking,
why is it all disgraceful if Vader loses?
I feel like they're just trying to get through the contract.
Remember,
all the citizens of White Castle will be like, "How? You lost your mask? Disrespect!
Mm-hmm.
Remember what was it that started that feud? Vader was fighting someone, and Kane comes out. You know, that's when Kane
hit him with a wrench, right?
Yeah, hits him with the wrench. Yeah, that's what started that.
Like it knocked Vader out. They did the blood thing or whatever, and Vader was like out cold. They had to carry him out and everything.
Yep.
So in a post interview, Vader said, "I made the biggest mistake of my life. Maybe Vader time is over. I'm a piece of shit. A big fat piece of shit."
I totally remember that interview too. It was ridiculous.
It was bad.
Vader
I thought it was
treated
going to
like
go somewhere, but it never did, right?
He lost to Mark Henry, John Bradshaw, Layfield, and Edge. Vader would ask for his release, and he was finally granted it. Thank goodness.
A sad side note on that: his last match was against Edge, where Edge beat him, and it was a Sunday Night Heat taping.
Yeah. And he did have a piece of shit clause in his contract. If he ever became a piece of shit, he could have an out. That's not in the notes, but it's true.
His graphic was like Vader, but it's spelled out shit.
It says I'm a piece of shit. I get to leave.
His Titantron is like just Vader spelled out in poo.
It's like the poo emoji, like a decade too early.
Oh, Vader.
Why are you letting this go on, Dave? Why are you letting this happen?
I know we're shitting on his legacy.
God damn it, Dave, you piece of shit.
We're shit on his legacy.
Man.
Vader's awesome.
Because I'm a big piece of shit. All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah are his next stops from 98 to 2003. He would return to Japan where he knew he could make money there. He teamed with Stan Hansen, why not? And even won the Triple Crown title in 1999. And then he competes in various Japanese indie promotions. So we're going to run through those real quick. Numerous promotions over 14 years. He would even make a few WWE appearances, defeating Heath Slater. I Got Kids.
That was fun to see. That was really fun to see.
Comeback.
Just the fact that he was walking okay and like came out like I was really happy to see him for that Raw.
Yeah, that was June 11th of 2012 of Raw. If you want to go catch that.
Vader victorious in his return to Monday Night Raw.
Catch that. In April of 2016, he would induct Stan Hansen into the WWE Hall of Fame. In May of 2016, Will Ospreay and Ricochet had a match that fans talk about to this day. Vader went to Twitter and complained about how today's wrestling was too choreographed and pre-scripted. Ospreay did not like that, and he and Vader began to trade words back and forth on Twitter. That's kind of fun. England-based promotion, Revolution Pro Wrestling, booking a match.
They had a match after that Vader won, and Ospreay said that Vader wouldn't let him go over.
That's the Revolution Pro Wrestling, right there. And he would win that contest. In 2017, Vader was involved in a tag match in Japan and was dropped on his head. He collapsed backstage, but he still continued the tour. Vader's final match took place on May 25th of 2017.
Already having been diagnosed with heart failure or congenital heart failure.
Yeah, because that actually happened in 2016. So he was diagnosed with congestive heart failure in November of 2016. Doctors gave him 2 years to live at that point. In March of 2018, Leon went into heart surgery to treat an arrhythmia. He developed pneumonia, and he died on June 18th of 2018 after a month-long hospital stay. In the months before his death, he was frequently visited by Steve Gordon, who he faced as Sting.
Yeah.
His son still runs a social media page to continue his legacy of his father. He's actually pretty cool. He responds back. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. He does a great job with it, continuing his dad's legacy. It's awesome.
He does do a really good job, and we do appreciate that page. So pretty good stuff. You guys want to get into the awards and achievements?
See,
senor. All right, All Japan Pro Wrestling. He was a Triple Crown champion 3 times. World Tag Title with Steve Williams. In New Japan, he was IWGP champion 3 times, and also a tag champion with Bam Bam Bigelow. In WCW, he was a world champion 3 times, also a United States champion, and a Battle Bowl 1993 winner. PWI ranked him as number 2 in the PWI 500 for 1993. And he was Wrestler of the Year in 1993.
Stop right there for a second.
Yeah.
I understand that the fans vote for the year-end awards, and for the PWI 500, the editors of the magazine put that list together. I want to say that Bret Hart was number 1 in 93. Listen, Vader should have been number 1. Like, we talked about 93, and, like, Sting at the beginning of the year, Davey Boy Smith, all the matches in the tag team in the middle of the summer,
just ran through them, man.
Yeah. Fucking Cactus Jack. Like, come on. Like, and then Flair at the end of the year. Like, give me a break. How is Vader not number 1 of the PWI 500? It's ridiculous. He deserved Wrestler of the Year. Dave's going to go to read on. Go ahead and read the Wrestling Observer Awards, which are harder to get, by the way.
Wrestling Observer's best heel in 1993. Best move of 1993 by the Observer is the moonsault. Most improved wrestler of 1999. That's hard to get. Wrestler of the Year in 93 and Hall of Fame in 1996. And I'm sorry, when was he inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame?
He never fucking was, which is just amazing. Like, which is
ridiculous.
Who's behind that one?
I do believe that he was Shawn Michaels. I do believe that I do believe that because he inducted Hansen in 2016, it was inevitable. But and then he passed away like after. But still, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
He wanted to go in before he passed. That was what he talked about. That he wanted to go in before he died.
Yeah.
And like he didn't fucking get in. It's bullshit. It's criminal. And come on, man. Like we can say what we want about the Wrestling Observer. I know we all have our opinions. And but the fact is, like, to be Wrestler of the Year in 1993, when Meltzer always has a massive boner for every Japanese wrestler ever, and I think he always had a kinship to Vader because Vader kind of started out, got big in Japan first, and Meltzer always loves Japanese wrestling. But like, it's amazing to me, like that. He won Wrestler of the Year from the Observer in 93. And you can say what you want about PWI, it's rigged or whatever, but the fans vote that too. He was a heel. Yeah. He was a goddamn heel. And like, he deserved it. I mean, those matches that I talked about, I know it takes two to tango, but Vader was the common denominator. And that year is my favorite year of WCW, even above and beyond some of the years of the NWO. And, when they really caught fire in the Monday Night Wars.
Because of Vader, man.
Fucking Vader, man. 93 was awesome. He had amazing matches with Dustin, Flair.
Yeah.
We're not talking about even the Clash of the Champions and the WCW Saturday Nights where he crashed fully down on the concrete and all that. Like, he did man, like 93, he was on a roll. Vader did no wrong. Like, he was a heel and he was beating people up. He was beating them clean. And that totally disproved the theory of Vince. You got to have a face. You got to always do that. Again, Yokozuna's run was heavily influenced. I don't care what anybody says about from Vader's run because they witnessed that. He's amazing. Like, he's amazing. And the fact that he won Wrestler of the Year in both the fans' eyes and in like the smart marks, quote unquote, eyes, like is impressive for a guy who's 400 to 450 pounds. Jesus, what do you say about him? Like, man,
he's the blueprint. The
like
blueprint for
I
the
said,
Brock
man,
Lesnar.
He's the biggest big man in the game, I think, ever. For someone of that size to be able to do what he was capable of doing, and then also being able to get snug in there. Like I said, New Japan did him well. Leaves quite a legacy, quite a mark on the industry. You talk about a lot of things that were missed. They didn't miss it in 93. Sid had a lot of misses that shouldn't have been misses, and things get that way. And then he finally gets his time in WWE, later on WWF at the time. That 93 moment was Vader's like coming out party, and he just ran roughshod on everybody in WCW, and it was fun to watch. It was a lot of fun to watch. So
I think backstage politics ruined him. It started with Hogan, and
he's not the guy that's going to fight it though.
It started with Hogan, and then it finished off with Shawn. And I hate saying them in the same sentence but they're both equally evil when it comes to politics. And they ruined Vader. It was just a guy that they he got caught. He couldn't hang in there when the Hogan era. So, and he got in that unfortunate fight with Orndorff and left. And then Michaels ruined him even further. Fuck, man. Like, God.
He reminds me a lot of Sid. Like, there's different guys in the business. There's guys that care about their own reputation and politic in the back. And there's guys that just want to make money and work. And it doesn't matter their win or loss record. Vader and Sid would jump when they didn't feel respected, but they didn't really give a shit about their position. And then they kind of got steamrolled a little bit, like Vader more than Sid, but like Vader let himself kind of get in positions where he was kind of buried a little bit, like and it was almost like a slow snowball until like he was a monster up until WWF almost destroyed him. And Jess, when you're talking about 1993 and those awards, in my head there's a part of me that says, of course Vince buried him because he was 1993 and Bret Hart was not 1993, and they struggled back then. I think in 93, like they just buried him. So it's like Vince.
I think I read that somewhere that they struggled in 93.
McMahon like never really probably never forgot it, never let him, and never had control of him. He wasn't a mastodon, didn't make money of him, and then Sean got in his ear, and then he was done. Like, and for Vader, was just, even in a shoot interview, it's about making money, and it's about he's just about working, which is probably in respect to the business and like doing the job. Like, I think Vader's fantastic.
Downfall, but with that kind of work, we wouldn't have had 93. So,
it was Brock before Brock. There was a realism to Vader.
He was the blueprint for the Brock Lesnar's. And I always say, I'm like, man, why don't you make that guy's a badass big heel? Like, make him like a Brock or a Vader. But it is more meaningful having them every once in a while. You had the Vader, and then obviously the Yokozuna, which was an inspiration, in Vince's eyes of how to book Yoko. And then later on, you had the Brock Lesnar's, because I'm always thinking, like, that guy's big. Make him like a Vader. Make him like a Brock. But it's more meaningful when you have them and, spread out like that.
Not everybody can carry out that kind of facade.
Yeah.
You come in just looking like I said, if you saw Vader in person, until you actually talk to him, but if you saw him, you would be intimidated by him.
Yeah, he's like,
he's a wrestler. That's
he's
cool.
the big, he's
Vader's
the big boss.
I don't think I want to go talk to
he's
that
he's the big badass boss villain, like a Bane. Oh shit, he beat the shit out of Batman. Who's gonna stop this guy? And then it's more meaningful when
in real life,
or the face comes back.
Teddy Bear in real life, right? From all
Teddy
accounts.
Bear
in real life.
Totally respected everybody.
Fucking
Didn't
stupid
want
piece
to
of
hurt.
shit.
He
Shawn
would
Michaels made him cry.
but he didn't want to hurt anybody. He would talk to anybody's kids. He was just a cool guy, man. Like from what everybody says, he wasn't a dick in the back. He didn't politic. He didn't do those things. He did what he was told to do, and he really cared about making sure.
His biggest crime was being, people were like, "Oh, he was grumpy and stuff," and I'm like, "Well, especially towards the end of his career, he was injured a lot, and this touring schedule that they did in the early '90s was like murder." And
brutal.
So okay, he was grumpy a little bit. That's fine, right? Like, but how many times did he like? I mean, for someone to sit there and just be like, "Hit me." Like, especially
there's a big difference between Vader being grumpy and Shawn being grumpy. They're just like, oh, bitch, whatever.
Absolutely. That's
Vader's
a very
like,
good
I don't know
point.
what Vader's going to do. He's grumpy today.
That's actually a very poignant statement and very true. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Like,
there's an evilness in.
Yeah.
Which is why it warms my heart to think that maybe maybe Vader got stiff with Michaels once in there, and that may be an attributing factor to Shawn Michaels having cross-eyed. I just hope one of those punches helped it. I really hope so.
But I'm glad his son is trying to continue his legacy, taking over the social media accounts and everything. His son seems like a really good dude who is actually a trained pro wrestler as well. And he
had injury problems, but
yeah, but that's fine. He just the fact that he really loves his father and respects his father, and he wants to put him out there. He wants to see him in the Hall of Fame. I know we're just a small podcast, but Jesus Christ, Vince, put him in the fucking Hall of Fame. Let his son induct him, or let Cactus or
God, that'd be awesome.
Or Cactus or Hanson or somebody like that, please.
Please. You can have Sting do it. You can have Flair do it.
Or Sting, Well, no, Sting's AEW. Calm down, everybody. He's never gonna happen. So yeah, I mean, there's just so many great people that could have do it. Just do it. Foley is probably the best one to do it.
That'd be great.
But yeah, just do it. Put him in the Hall of Fame. He deserves it. He really deserves it. And I respect Vader. I have a fond spot in my heart for Vader. I love Vader.
There are people that have done less in WWE and less as a wrestler that are in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. And Vader's my type of wrestler. I love that semi-snug. I love it. I love the big mans like that, because I believe that when you have dominant monsters like that, it will make faces better. The face that knows how to rise above and finally defeat that monster, that's what makes money. That's what makes ratings. That's what does all that. So Batman,
we talked about Vader. We've talked about Sting making Vader, but I think Sting would tell you that Vader helped to make him over time.
Yeah, Vader's incredible.
Sting would probably say that. Would you say that Vader helped make you into the person you are, into the wrestler?
Vader made Cactus.
Yeah.
So you got to argue that he built a lot of guys over time, and made them into what we know them as. You wouldn't think. I mean, we wouldn't think that much less of Sting, but the main reason why Sting is because of those infamous matches with Vader. I mean, they're amazing. They're awesome.
And you talk about a guy that played big time NCAA football for Colorado, won a Super Bowl, and then 30 years wrestling career. Talking about the guy that's in pain,
decorated.
Any athlete that plays one year in the
still
NFL
wrestled after being diagnosed with heart failure.
Yeah, and not just wrestling after killing your patella, but moonsaulting and and straight up power bombing and doing some pretty amazing work in there. So, and being able to go for a long time for a big man, he didn't really need a lot of. He didn't blow up too much in there either. So, pretty impressive. He didn't wear down a lot of people that much. He just went to work.
Yeah,
just throwing haymakers. So you gotta love it. Hit us up on Instagram at O.W.P 2019. Click on Linktree. You can find us on several platforms, including Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. And anything we talk about is inspired by the WWE Network. So do yourself a favor and get your free month today to watch anything WWE, WCW, ECW, and more. This is Dave, Cuz, Craig, and Jess. Mix that up a little bit with the O.W.P. signing off. Have a good one.
Vader. Ta.
Can you send me a message from there? Please try to explain. What is the point of this? Can you explain from the other side? Can you show me? Can you help us? Can you show me? Help us figure out what is the point of this? Can you explain from the other side? Have you been to where time and space cease to exist? Is there more programmer, a god, a viewer? Are we just an experiment? Can you help me reach out and show us the meaning to all this? To you, those that manipulate this life, fuck you and your rules, your laws, your show. Can you show me? Can you send me a message from there? Please try to explain. What is the point of this? Can you explain from the other side? Can you show me? Can you help us? Can you show me? Help us figure out